generations walk behind the plow. Imagine them then, look at them now. Farm and family, food that comes directly from the soil. Hands that haven't been afraid to toil for 3 centuries. Through changing lives and technologies, always part of this community. Care and character define this place. Farm and family, the eagle plow changed how New England farmed. Now Welch brings a different kind of charm that nourishes and feeds, sort of like the CSA. Today we're here to celebrate, to hold up and commemorate, to show how much we appreciate this farm and family.
All right, thank you, Luann. So good afternoon, distinguished guests and friends of Nourse Farm. My name is Tim Nourse. I'm a proud member of the 9th generation of this farming family, and I have the pleasure of serving as the host of this opening ceremony for our tricentennial birthday. Before we begin, I would like to thank the Westborough Cultural Council, as well as the Economic Development Council of Westborough, Committee of Westborough, who provided assistance to make this event happen. And I also have to acknowledge that we have members of the 8th, 9th, and 10th generation of nurses here. Give us a wave. They've all worked very hard along with the Nourse Farm employees to make this day happen, so we thank them all. I'm going to be short, and I just want to kick off the program with my father, David Nourse. He's the owner of Nourse Farm and a member of the 8th generation.
Welcome to Nourse Farm, home of our nurse family for 300 years. It has seen many comings and goings. Daniel Nourse, my great-great-great-great-grandfather, left here on April 19, 1775, to join his company in Westborough Militia, marching in response to the Lexington alarm. Too late for the fighting, they were part of the force of 20,000 militiamen who effectively blockaded the British in Boston until they sailed away the next year. Benjamin Alden Nourse, my great-grandfather, left here in January of 1876 to start his first term as a representative to the General Court. While Daniel had to walk to Boston, Benjamin Alden was able to ride on the train. For the last 3 generations, the pattern has been similar here. We leave for college and then go west. Arthur Merriam Nourse, my grandfather, and both of his brothers did this in the late 1800s. And my brother Jonathan Willard Nourse did that in the 1970s. While my grandfather's brothers stayed in the West, both he and my brother John returned to the farm and carried on in their respective times. My father, Arthur LeSure Nourse, and I are the outliers. Neither of us went west. My father, confronted with the Great Depression after he finished college, came right back to the farm. On the other hand, I stayed away for a long time, serving in the Navy and practicing maritime law in New York for 45 years before coming back in 2010. Coming with me was my wife Hazel, a practicing real estate lawyer. Now she's a member of the town's Historical Commission and an elected member of the town's Planning Board. She is also an important part of this farm enterprise. I think that the farm, to use an old sailing expression, is an anchor to windward for our family. It provides a safe, secure place. It holds us together. It permits us to return. We hope it will continue to do so. Thank you for coming to this 300th celebration. We hope you also will return. Bye.
I'd now like to introduce Jonathan Nourse, Nurse, brother of David and manager of the farm store, and also an 8th generation member. Jonathan?
Here we are on a beautiful June day celebrating 300 years of Nurse family's agricultural endeavors. Several important concepts have allowed my generation, the 8th generation, to build a strong farm business. First, marketing by pick your own. This was a new concept in 1973 when Marcia and I sold our first berry crop. It allowed us to grow strawberries and invite the community to pick the crop. We immediately saw a huge response that continues today with multiple berry crops. Second concept, community-supported agriculture. Began here about 15 years ago. Our CSA members in the community invest in the season's worth of vegetables, enabling us to better invest in our crops. Community is key here. Our CSA members and our customers live within 10 miles, and it is our relationship with them that keeps the farm prospering. We offer freshness and flavor grown local. Third concept, agricultural preservation rights program. The state purchased the development rights of Nourse Farm in 1980, leaving farmland at its agricultural value. Because of the APR program, our family made the commitment to keep this land in agriculture in perpetuity. My great-grandfather Benjamin had the advantage of the railroad moving his crops to be sold in Boston. My grandfather Arthur used the railroad to bring tourists to the farm to stay at his and Gertrude's bed and breakfast. My dad used refrigerator tanker to move his milk to the processing plant. For me, the 8th generation, the community is all around us, making it easier to market our products right here. It is the community that keeps a farm vibrant. Thank you for coming to our 300th.
Thank you, Jonathan. I'd like to welcome Patrick Welch, member of the Westborough Select Board, to the podium.
I'd just like to make a couple of brief comments and remarks. First of all, I'd like to thank the Nourse Farm and the Nourse Farm community for having this event today. It's a wonderful event. We are blessed with wonderful weather, and it's great to see all the faces out there enjoying such a wonderful event. I'll just say a couple of brief words. I grew up just a stone's throw from here over on Pinecrest Drive in the early 80s, and there's two memories that I have fondly about this farm growing up so close by here. One is my best friend growing up lived over on Hyder Street, so I came through Nourse Farm quite often on my bike, coasting down the hill right over here quite often back in the early 80s. And then second of all, I remember many times in the summer coming with my mother and picking strawberries in these fields and just enjoying the pancakes and all the other things that we could have with the wonderful bounty that was provided by Nourse Farms. So again, I'd like to just thank everyone for being here today. I'd like to thank the family and the entire staff here for putting on such a wonderful event. Thank you.
I'd like to welcome Shelby Marshall, also a member of the Westborough Select Board, to speak.
Thank you very much. Welcome. It's so great to see so many new faces, some old faces, not by age necessarily. And thank you so much for coming today. It's my honor on behalf of the town and the select board to read this proclamation. So it's not too long, so I'll try to move quickly. Proclamation by the Westborough Town Board, Nourse Farm Tricentennial Celebration. Whereas Nourse Farm, located at 70 Nurse Street in Westborough, is 140 acres of farmland, which includes a 3.5 acre homestead, 75 acres of gardens, and another 65 acres of pasture and woodlands. And whereas the Nourse family settled on the land and began farming it in 1722, the farm is the 15th oldest continuously running family business in the United States. And in the 1800s, a Nourse family ancestor invented and patented the Nourse Eagle plow, which was made of cast iron and pulled by large draft animals, proved to be a hardy tool against the rocky New England soils, has an example in the Smithsonian Museum. And whereas the Nourse Farms has been founded as a dairy farm at the turn of the 20th century, they responded to the area's consumers by cultivating their farm fields to sell berries and other fresh produce, with production increasing steadily with each passing decade. And whereas the construction of the farm stand in the 1980s allowed for the farm to continue to diversify their crops and homemade goods like jams and baked goods to sell directly to consumers, not only at the stand in Westborough, but also at an area farmers market, and more recently selling community-supported agriculture or CSA shares. And whereas the Nourse Farm and its 8th, 9th, and 10th generation of the Nourse family are forever rooted in the soil of the town of Westborough. Therefore, the Select Board in the town of Westborough does hereby bestow this proclamation to the Nourse Farm and Nourse family in celebration of their tricentennial celebration, given this 18th day of June in the year 2022. Thank you.
Great. I'd like to welcome Brad Mitchell from the Massachusetts Farm Bureau.
Good afternoon, and thank you for coming and celebrating this milestone by Nourse. Most of us don't really think about all that farms bring to us and what they do for us, and they bring a lot, and Nourse is a stellar example of this. They're small businesses. They put food on our tables, they employ people. I suspect many of the folks over here on my left in the green shirts, this is their first job. Farms have instilled the work ethic on young people. I suspect thousands over the years of young people, the first job has been at Nourse Farms. They're part of our natural heritage. Look around. Isn't this a lot nicer than housing development or a strip mall? And farms protect this natural environment. I just saw 2 mallards land over in the field. They wouldn't be doing that in my backyard right now, I guarantee you that. They're part of our cultural heritage. You look around, I mean, Nourse has a plow was designed on this farm that's on his Smithsonian. It's in the Smithsonian today. They put food on our table. They're increasingly relevant. During COVID, we saw shortages in the food supply because we were relying on the southeastern part of the United States and Central America. We're starting to realize that we need more production closer to home. Climate change is one of the hot issues. Farms are one of the solutions to that. So I could go on and list all the ways that farms contribute to us and help us as individuals and help our families, but Tim's warned me not to do that. So I will just thank you for coming here today, and as you move forward, think about all that Nourse does for you and your family in this community, and the other farms in the state do for all of us. Thank you.
All right, I'd like to welcome John LeBeau and Ashley Randall. They are the Commissioner and Deputy Commissioner of the Massachusetts Department of Agricultural Resources.
Well, good afternoon, distinguished guests and Nourse family, and congratulations. We're delighted to be here on behalf of Governor Baker and Lieutenant Governor Polito on this truly monumental day in the history of this farm. It's a little bit of a special treat for me. My grandfather, father, and I farmed just about 2 miles over there in Shrewsbury for 95 years. So my relationship of and knowledge of the Nourse Farm long predates my job as MDAR Commissioner. I probably first heard about this farm before I was 10 years old. That a farm has stayed in the same family for 9 generations in 300 years is just remarkable. Every time a farm changes hands, it's a very delicate and sensitive time when a farm could stop being a farm. So the fact that it's stayed in this family for 9 generations and hopefully more to come is just marvelous. Between the two of us, Ashley's a 4th generation, I'm a 3rd generation farmer. You add us up together, we still fall short of 9. So it's just amazing. We do have a couple of proclamations to present from the state. I'm deathly afraid the wind is just going to grab it out of my hands. But first, from the Department of Agricultural Resources, we would like to recognize Nourse Farm for 300 years of being in Worcester County as one of the oldest farms in the Commonwealth and country. Your lasting legacy on the region is a testament to the dedication and resiliency of the Nourse family, and that's proudly presented by the Mass Department of Ag Resources. But I saved the big one. I have another proclamation to read. On behalf of the citizens of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, I am pleased to confer upon your organization this governor's citation in recognition of its 300th anniversary and your ongoing efforts to enrich the local community, which will continue to have a positive impact on countless lives for generations to come. Signed on this 18th day of June in the year 2022, Charles D. Baker, Governor, and Karen E. Polito, Lieutenant Governor. Congratulations, North.
Great. So I'd like to welcome Hannah Kane. Hannah is the Massachusetts State Representative for the 11th District of Worcester.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so pleased to be here today. When I got here, I walked over to the farm barn over here, and I stood inside and I breathed in deeply because I grew up in North Yarmouth on a dirt road surrounded by farms. I actually worked on farms when I was young, and I never got paid for it because it was just the thing I was told to do to get out of the house and go be helpful to the farmers in the morning. My first two best friends were Harley and Charlie, who were 78 and 82 respectively, because I grew up in an idyllic setting where I got to understand how critical farming is to our communities, our Commonwealth here, and certainly our country. And it really is remarkable to be standing here at 300 years. I think it's just so hard to actually think about. 1722. So much of what went on here happened before our country was even a country. And so today in the legislature, I co-chair the Food System Caucus, which is the second largest caucus on Beacon Hill. And one of our three priorities is farmland and ensuring that farmers here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts have the support to stay farming because it's critical for communities. And I love the fact that everyone who has spoken today has talked about community, because that's really what farming is. Farming is a community. It's a community among themselves of farmers, but it's a commitment to a community. And thankfully, Westborough has committed to this farm as much as this farm has committed to the community. We're very fortunate. I come here today with a citation from the House of Representatives, and I'd like to read it. It says, "Be it hereby known to all that the Massachusetts House of Representatives offers its sincerest congratulations to Nourse Farm in recognition of celebrating 300 years in sustainable agriculture, having farmed generation to generation since 1722. You reached a historic milestone anniversary as a family farm and have made the Westborough community and the Commonwealth extremely proud. Congratulations. The entire membership extends its very best wishes and expresses the hope for future good fortune and continued success in all of the endeavors." And it's signed by the Speaker of the House, State Representative Danielle Gregoire, and myself. I'm so happy to be here today celebrating with all of you, and I'm so grateful to your family for all that you've done to stay here. Thank you.
We will need some more wall space for all of these. Awesome. I'd like to now present just a special guest, Dr. Robert Littleton. He's the president of the Evergreen Center in Milford, and he's going to present a special gift to Nourse Farm.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for inviting us here today to celebrate the 300th anniversary of the Nourse family farm. I'm Robert Littleton, founder and president of the Evergreen Center, a not-for-profit organization in Milford that's dedicated to serving children and adults with disabilities. Like many others over these many years, the Nourse family farm has come to mean so much to the individuals we support. It has been a shining example of all that is good in America today. Independence, careful stewardship of our natural resources, products of the highest quality, and preservation of our traditions and history. It is literally the bedrock on which our communities rest. Over these many years, our students and tens of thousands of citizens from surrounding communities have experienced their first nature walk in these pastures, patted their first cow, or picked their first strawberry. As an expression of our appreciation, we would like to present this original painting created by Becky it's a tough name, Haladecki, to the Nourse family in recognition of their preservation of this essential community resource for over 300 years.
Thank you, Bob. We're going to fight over who gets that. All right, so I have the pleasure of welcoming Congressman Jim McGovern. He's our representative in the United States House of Representatives and for the 2nd District of Massachusetts.
Well, thank you very much to the entire Nourse family for inviting me. This is a special moment for the family, but also for the entire community. And I'm really thrilled to be proud of it. And unlike John and Ashley and even Hannah, my ancestral roots are not in agriculture. My family owned package stores. Important product nonetheless, but we can't live without food, and I appreciate it. You know, I've been lucky to know the nurses for a while, and I've come here on official business, on farm tours, and then I've come here just kind of by myself because my entire family likes the strawberry and the raspberry pies with the chocolate bottom, and I appreciate all the incredible things that are produced on this farm. So first of all, a huge congratulations. At a time when you turn on the news and there's so much to get depressed over, this is something to really celebrate. And this farm is in a very select club to hit 3 centuries. And it's incredible that this place has meant what it has to this community for longer than our republic even existed. You know, a few years ago, the then Secretary of Agriculture, Sonny Montgomery from Georgia, was in our community. We were in Northborough, and he was bragging to everybody about how his state of Georgia had multi-generational farms, as if his was the only state that had multi-generational farms. And I asked him how far they went back, and he said proudly, 2 or 3 generations. When I told him that we had 8 and 9 generation farmers in Massachusetts, his eyes practically bulged out of his head. It is something that a lot of states around the country don't appreciate, the history of agriculture in Massachusetts. And I think that sometimes we take for granted that family farms like this are just part of our landscape. And agriculture, as Commissioner LeBeau will tell you, is an essential part of our economy. It's an essential part of our identity here in the Commonwealth. And it makes us special and unique. And I don't think it's news to anyone here that this just doesn't happen. It takes a lot of work, hard work. It takes dedication, and it takes perseverance. Farmers are asked to be stewards and innovators and business minds and so much more, all at the same time. And we just heard of the history of how this farm has transformed itself over the years and remained viable. That really is a tribute to the Nourse family. And I love, like all of you, spending time on farms. But I have to be honest with you, I don't think I'd last more than maybe a half a day working on a farm. And certainly this thing would have been gone if I was in charge of running it. So please don't ask me to lend a hand to anything that involves any kind of manual labor here. But I will do everything I can to continue to be wind at your back, because I think this is so incredible. And as evidenced by all the members of the community that are here today, you share my view. And this really is a tribute to the Nourse family. Again, unbelievable farmers, unbelievable stewards of the environment, unbelievably dedicated citizens to this community, all the causes and all the different activities that they've been involved with. And so I've learned a lot from this family and from many of the people who are gathered here today. And I just want to say that it is a special joy to be here with all of you. And I have a feeling that this farm will be around for at least another 300 years. I won't, but it will. And there'll be another celebration. But congratulations to this unbelievable family. Thank you.
to honor this day and to honor the 300th anniversary, we have constructed, and maybe if I can ask all of us to dedicate this will be a joint dedication, but we will be placing this bronze plaque at the front of the farm store, which shows it to commemorate the 300 years of the Nourse family farming here. So you're all. So the assembled people you're all dedicating this. You didn't know this, but that's what you're doing. We'll write your names on the back. Well, great. Well, thank you all for sticking around and hearing this, hearing these different words. I'd like to close the ceremony with the thanks just to the town of Westborough, the town of Grafton, and all of you who have joined us today. Nourse Farm is sustained by the community we serve. We heard that today. We thank you for your support to our family and our farming endeavor throughout the years. We look forward to serving you for 300 more. And with that, I want to say thank you, welcome, enjoy the farm. We have lots of activities. We have music starting in a few minutes. And again, thank to you for joining us today. And we look forward to having some fun.